They said 460 North Korean tanks couldn't be stopped. By sunrise, most weren't moving at all. The first explosion shattered the silence at 5:44 a.m. A BTR-82A lifted clear off the ground. What followed was not luck, but calculation. Buried mines, preset fire grids, drones speaking to artillery in real time. The question isn't how the convoy was destroyed, it's how Ukraine predicted every move before it happened. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. How did an army that outnumbered its enemy 4-1 vanish in less than 2 hours? It began east of the Kolmis River, where a thick fog hung just above the reeds, muting sound but amplifying tension. The lowlands were saturated from a week of cold rain, turning every wheel rut into a muddy scar. From the tree line, distant metallic clatter carried through the mist, a chorus of tank tracks and diesel grinds rolling toward what looked like an undefended river crossing. By 5:30 a.m., the column stretched for nearly 6 kilometers, armored silhouettes blending into the low light like a moving steel wall. But beneath that quiet terrain, another layer of war was already alive. The Ukrainian crews had turned the valley into a chessboard of hidden sensors and waiting triggers. Seismic detectors the size of soda cans were buried under sod along the approach routes, listening for vibration patterns and identifying the difference between a tank column and a decoy convoy. TM-62 mines were spaced in uneven intervals, deliberately inconsistent so clearance teams couldn't predict the rhythm. The kill zone had been mapped months earlier, using ground-penetrating radar and drone scans, each trench dug by hand at night, disguised with straw and discarded farm equipment to look abandoned. Inside those trenches, operators sat in silence with their heads tilted toward radio headsets, waiting for the tremors to spike. At 5:44 a.m., a sudden surge in seismic readings rippled through the displays. The convoy had crossed the trigger line. A coded tone sounded on the net, and seconds later, an operator lifted a guarded switch cover. The first detonation ripped the stillness apart. A buried TM-62 under the lead BTR-82A threw the 8-ton vehicle into the air, scattering its wheels like coins. In the dust that followed, every Ukrainian channel came alive. Spotters updated coordinates, drone pilots locked in thermal signatures, and within 1 minute, a full strike chain was active. High above the fog, 2 Bayraktar TB2 drones glided silently, relaying infrared overlays to command trailers several kilometers back. Each glowing vehicle formed a pin on the digital map transmitted to the artillery grid. The French Caesar crews took the first fire mission, elevation adjusted, breech locked the gun spat bursts of 155mm shells that landed with precision less than 20 seconds after release. While smoke rose from the first impact line, British AS-90 howitzers shifted fire 300 meters deeper into the formation, pounding the midsection of the armored column caught behind the lead wreckage. Artillery walked fire methodically down the valley. Every salvo pushed the trapped vehicles backward into their own congestion. The Bodana batteries joined in from the flanks, their rounds coordinated to fall in a pattern that sealed both exits. Within minutes, the once steady advance turned into gridlock. Tank crews couldn't see more than 30 meters ahead, their periscopes fogged by dust and smoke, rear vehicles ramming those stuck in front, radio calls overlapped in confusion, while overhead drones marked new targets with coded flashes visible only to friendly gunners. For Ukrainian command, it wasn't manpower that controlled the battlefield, it was data. Each sensor, drone and gun team acted like a node in a network that predicted where the next target would move before it did. When ammo vehicles tried to reverse out, temperature spikes pinpointed their location, directing salvos that set off sympathetic detonations. The entire first column was crippled before the second wave knew it was under attack. What should have been a reinforced thrust across a quiet river became an immovable heap of burning armor. In less than 2 hours, the sound of engines gave way to silence, broken only by the distant echo of outgoing fire. But what came next wasn't withdrawal. It was something far more destructive. The moment command and control inside the remaining formation began to unravel. Once the lead column was trapped, the question was how Ukraine dismantled the rest of the 460-vehicle armored convoy so completely and so quickly. What had begun as a tight formation broke apart into fragments across the valley. KN-23 missile trucks jackknifed on the slopes, their trailers twisted sideways and blocking escape routes. BMP-3s churned into the soft ground and bogged down mid-turn, their treads spinning in the slick mud. Command vehicles tried to angle toward higher ground, but their radios faltered mid-order, voices cutting to static. Within minutes, platoon leaders realized they no longer had contact with their battalions. The convoy that entered as one colossal unit was suddenly a collection of isolated pockets, each surrounded by smoke, fire, and silence on the net. The problem wasn't just physical separation. Ukrainian electronic warfare teams had buried signal loops and data masts around the valley days earlier. When activated, those systems blanketed frequencies across command channels and GPS bands. Missile operators tried to reboot their guidance systems, but their coordinates drifted by several hundred meters, confusing the onboard navigation software. Suicide drones, launched in panic to disrupt radar stations, lost link entirely and veered off route, slamming into empty hillsides or crashing into their own stalled armor. Commanders believed they were being jammed, but they didn't know the jamming was paired with triangulation. Each burst of chatter exposed their position to the drone grid above. Fire control shifted as fast as the digital maps could refresh. The Caesar batteries that had pinned the lead vehicles flipped their aim to grid sectors where movement persisted. Within minutes, the Badana self-propelled guns took over, hammering targets identified by fresh drone telemetry. Kyiv-based Bayraktar controllers rotated FPV units toward the remaining clusters, each drone carrying a shaped charge warhead the size of a football. They raced between shell craters, dipped low to avoid anti-air bursts, then dove straight into exposed turrets and engine decks. Every hit produced a short flash and the end of another contact marker on the command screens. While the drones hunted, combat engineers crawled along the trenches, pulling rewire lines for the next detonations. The M200 mines had been chained for sequential firing, each lead triggering the next. When the lines were live, the operators took cover and signaled the flanking mechanized infantry to secure the perimeter. Those infantry units, using irrigation ditches as cover, advanced methodically, clearing any dismounted troops still moving through the fog. Their timing skewed the attackers' perception of distance. Friendly formations appeared much closer than sensors indicated, amplifying the chaos. Every discipline, artillery, engineering, infantry, played its assigned role without waiting for centralized orders. Further west, Challenger 2 tanks repositioned along the ridgeline, their gun barrels glinting in the early light. The British crews fired depleted uranium rounds through the gaps, their precision cutting through remaining armor columns, stalled in the tree line. To the east, Ukrainian Oplot T-84s maneuvered through burning wreckage, swinging turrets rapidly for direct shots at short range. Thermal sights turned the battlefield into a pattern of steady red targets on black background. North Korean tanks that tried to push back created bright streaks, every engine heat signature instantly visible, each one answered by a shell. The battlefield rhythm pulsed like machinery, each gun line knowing when to cease fire before the next salvo began. Then came the break in the enemy command chain. Drones located a large command vehicle buried near a collapsed barn, its antenna still active. Recon teams closed in under the smoke, breaching through twisted sheet metal and turning up sealed envelopes, marked grids, and hand-drawn maps. The wounded figure inside was identified as Colonel Ri Yong-hawk, the field commander of the entire assault. His capture ended the last functional node of communication within the task force. The documents recovered detailed operational routes, attack timetables, and contingency orders, each now useless. Massed assault no longer guarantees a breakthrough when every square meter can be mapped and every vehicle tracked in real time. The battle showed that volume no longer equals strength. Information does. Ukraine's use of sensors, mines, and precision guns proved that a smaller force connected through data can erase a larger one. Future wars may belong to algorithms, autonomous sensors, and shared targeting grids instead of sheer numbers. Each movement could be logged, calculated, and erased before it's seen. The question now is whether prediction itself has become the ultimate weapon, and if brute force has finally reached its limit.